Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. It is Wednesday, January 17th, and Joe Biden, good old Joey, the geriatric, the child sniffer, hits a golf ball backwards, falls up a flight of stairs, looks for dead people in the crowd, fights with his teleprompter, doesn't know his name, doesn't even know he's president, although 2 hours ago he was informed he was, but since then he's forgotten, it's still the worst president in American history. And the Democrats are going to drive out in the millions to vote for that dude. I know, insane, head spinning, unbelievable, but it's going to happen. Folks, we got a jam-packed episode for today. We are ready to go here on the Bald Brad Show. Before we jump into any of it, support us by hitting that like and subscribe button and leave us a comment down below. If you want to go above and beyond, we got a join tab over here. Now's the time to do it more than ever to support conservative thought and ideas getting out to new viewers who haven't seen our content or our channel by hitting that join tab. Become a true American patriot yourself today. With that being said, folks, Vivek Ramaswamy is out. We like Vivek here on the Bald Brad Show. I think he would be a fabulous pick for VP. I was going through some of your comments yesterday, and you as well would like Vivek. Some of you are saying Ron DeSantis, Kari Lake, you know, the usuals. But Vivek is the man for the job. And some of you were also throwing in Tucker Carlson, and I'll tell you why I don't think it's Tucker, although Benny Johnson is saying that it is Tucker. So let me kind of break this down for you. Benny Johnson is getting some sort of behind-the-scenes intelligence that Melania Trump wants Tucker to be Trump's VP, and she's moving freaking mountains to make this happen. Why don't I think it's going to happen, even though she wants it to? And look, quite frankly, so do I. Is because Tucker has just invested a lot of money into Tucker Carlson Network, TCN, and to kind of kick off his show and everything he's doing, to put all that effort in for like a year and a half, maybe 2 years at that point, to run for VP, I just don't think he's going to do it. I mean, he's giving up a lot of money and resources to do something like that. Again, I want it to happen, but I think right here, Mr. Vivek Ramaswamy is the man for the job. And let me explain why. This guy is like Trump 2.0. He reaches more towards people that are my demographic, my age group, whereas Trump can reach the older groupings or group of people as well. Trump packages things in a way that doesn't reach a lot of people around the country. And so what Vivek can do is he could take maybe that harsh rhetoric that Trump brings, which I got no qualms with, but a lot of people do, and he could repackage it in a way that, again, can reach other people that might have tuned Trump out and not listen to him. I love listening to Vivek. The way this man talks is amazing. So here's Vivek joining Trump in New Hampshire right after he just got done ending his campaign. Let's roll it.
Let's do this, guys. It's good to see you. It's good to be back to New Hampshire. We miss you guys. We're going to make this happen, and you guys know this well. You know this man. You know why we're here, patriots across the state. We are in the middle of a war in this country. That's what this is. It's not a war between black and white. It's not between Democrat and Republican, even in a deeper sense. It's between the permanent state and the everyday citizen. Between those of us who love the United States of America and a fringe minority who hates this country and what we stand for. And right now we need a commander-in-chief who will lead us to victory in this war.
Damn right.
That's what we need in this country.
Yeah, baby.
You got to know.
So you could go on and listen to Vivek. I'm telling you, folks, the guy speaks eloquently. He gets his point across, and he's extremely smart. I think Trump would be doing himself a big service by making that man his VP. And by the way, they were chanting after Vivek's speech there for him to be VP. So a lot of Republicans do want this. They really enjoy him. The reason why I don't think Ron's a good pick is Ron is basically Trump 2.0, and so's Kari Lake. It's too much. It's too much Trump in the White House. There's only one Trump. There's only one Mr. 45, folks, that's looking for a Costa. Where's Jim? Where's the ouchie Fauci at? Huh? Where's the fake news media in the back? There's only one. And I think it's too much. And Vivek is, I think, a very good pick. We'll see if he goes with him. I've also heard Ben Carson is in the mix as well. I don't really have much of an opinion on that one. But Vivek here said, tonight I have officially called on Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley to drop out and endorse Trump. Our base spoke loud and clear last night. Oh, did they? Iowa had never seen those numbers for a Republican, by the way. Trump shattered records. Like, not even close. The whole place was red. Now it's our job to follow their mandate and revive this country. And you have him saying as much here regarding GOP whistleblower wrestles democracy away from the courts here on what is that, Waters World?
And I think that you guys may have seen some of the rally that we had, and the response was overwhelming. And I think it's very clear who the Republican primary electorate is saying that they want to be their nominee. I ran to be that person. They sent me a very positive message, but the very positive message they sent to all of us is that Donald Trump needs to be the nominee of this party. And I think Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley would actually at this point do this country and this party a service by stepping aside to make sure that we're focused on not only nominating Donald Trump, but getting this country back and reviving those founding revolutionary ideals.
Hear,
and I
hear.
think we do live in that 1776 moment right now. We need to win.
You're calling on Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis to drop out right now.
I am. And I do think that would be healthy for this country. And I think that, you know what?
I 100% agree. When you have those types of numbers, I mean, Trump was ahead of Ron DeSantis by like 20 or 30 points in Iowa. I mean, nothing as far as what reporters are seeing is going to change in New Hampshire and set after. So they can stay in all they want. I mean, Ron spent like $100 million in Iowa alone, which is an insane amount of money, and did not see any sort of result from it. And again, they're just wasting their own money. They should be getting behind Trump here, getting behind the Republican Party, and advancing that message like Vivek's doing here, getting out campaigning for Trump across the country, getting out Republican conservative ideas out there, and showing the American people who's going to take care of them, because it's not Democrats. Democrats have never taken care of the American people. They've taken care of illegal immigrants. They've taken care of the Ukrainians. They've taken care of the Taliban. I mean, they've taken care of everybody else other than Americans. And Vivek is the second person, other than I say Ron DeSantis and obviously Trump, but probably the second leading person other than Trump here on the campaign trail that was America first. And he said as much. So I love Vivek. I'm a big supporter of Vivek. Got his books, everything like that. He's making a huge name for himself on the campaign trail. I want to know what you think. Do you think Vivek is a good pick for a VP? Let me know in the comment section below. We would love to hear from you. And you guys know I read all your comments. But baby, it's going to be Trump. Maybe v. Biden. The reason why I'm saying maybe is I think it was the former CEO of JP Morgan and Chase said, or JP Morgan said that he's hearing talks that Biden's going to drop out in March, is what we're hearing. And people are saying, well, that's not possible. How are they going to be able to put somebody in the Democratic primary, basically? Well, if Biden elects that he's unfit to hold office, that he is mentally unstable, is that he's not all there in the cuckoo nest, that would make sense. And that would actually fall in line with putting somebody forward. Now you're looking at Gavin Newsom, maybe Michelle Obama. Hell, I don't know. They don't really have anybody. But Democrats would be willing to vote for whatever knucklehead they throw out there, then vote for Trump. So I don't know. And speaking of knuckleheads, I mean, the Democrats have gone so insane. They're calling black people that are campaigning for Trump racist. Yeah. Oh yeah. Let that sink in. It's like back in the old days when the Democrats called like Frederick Douglass, if you were to call them Democrats back then, like the Democrats, Frederick Douglass, like a racist for getting behind Abraham Lincoln and what Abraham Lincoln was doing. That's basically what you have here. It's insane. A black Republican lawmaker from Texas responded to a heckler who accused him of being racist as he campaigned for former President Trump in Iowa on Monday. Texas State Representative Wesley Hunt appeared unfazed by the disruptive audience member because he's probably used to hearing that from Democrats, Democrats have primarily been racist the entirety of their party's inception, the Klan, slavery, going against civil rights movement. You could do the metaphorical plantation against black people and people of color in general through the ideology and policies that they've implemented through the last, 40 years. You can go that route. So he's probably used to hearing this crap from them. Who accused Hunt of degrading himself and turning his back on black people as he spoke at a caucus site near Des Moines. Folks, it just shows you how far removed some of these people are, like how much under a rock they live. Do you really think Democrats have been advocating for black people and people of color in general for like a century? No. For some reason, they'll still buy into this message. And I really don't get it because you're not seeing any result from it. And it's tough because on one end, I don't even think race at all is important in any sort of conversation. I believe in the individual and the individual's characteristics of which they should be judged upon, not their skin color. God, that sounds a lot like MLK, Martin Luther King. So the Democrats, though, seem to almost not believe that. And I don't understand that, where they're still segregating people in schools, having segregated graduations, dormitories. I don't understand it. That race is enveloping every aspect of almost their party in terms of the policies, the ideology, i.e. diversity, equity, inclusion everywhere. Why can't we just base people on their characteristics? You know, GPA, what their lifestyle was like, their milieu, their hardships, what they have to overcome to get into that said institution rather than having affirmative action. I like the fact that you have somebody here going for Trump that recognizes that Trump is not a racist. Trump has hired thousands of black people, thousands of Hispanics, thousands of Chinese people. Remember when Trump was out there and he was saying things about China? China. Well, don't you think that's a little xenophobic? No. COVID-19 is from China. Like, I love that aspect of Trump, but for some reason, they think the man is a racist. He's contributed and donated money to a swaths of different races and ethnicities out there, and they keep pushing this narrative. So you have this guy here going, how can a black man do this on Martin Luther King Day? The man who appeared to be black as well shouted at Hunt as he walked towards him. How can a black man stand here and talk to us about a racist? They were saying the same thing about Frederick Douglass, folks, and now they're still doing the same thing in 2023. Members of the audience quickly grabbed the man and escorted him out. I was saying Hunt continued after the heckler was removed. I come from a district in Houston, Texas. That's a majority white district, and I won by 30 points. And probably those people that voted for him are going to vote for who? Donald Trump, but somehow we're all racist. Somehow we're all extremists. Somehow we're all conspiracy theorists, MAGA supporters, a threat to democracy. It's so wild that people really buy into this nonsense. If you really think about it, it is wild. Where conservatives want to conserve values that are positive, that tend to be moral. And honestly, a lot of conservatives are liberal when it comes to the government being involved in our lives. We just want to be left alone. I know a lot of you live in kind of middle America that watch the show. You just want to be left alone, I would imagine. You know what I mean? You just want to thrive in this country. You hope for the best of your American family, your friends, whether they're Democrat or Republican. You just want everybody to succeed because we're all Republicans. We're all Americans at the end of the day, if you understand what I'm saying. It has nothing to do with race. I don't care if you're black, Asian, white, Hispanic. I don't care what you are. I just want you to do well and use your head when you're voting. But, I don't think we're going to get that, which is, why you got Democrats going after Trump still for saying poisoning the blood when it comes to immigrants. Now, the reason why I want to bring this up here is because half of Americans agree with Trump's statement of poisoning the blood, the immigration rhetoric that he said. Now, we got some new studies here, which is pretty crazy. It kind of caught me off guard for a second. There's always been a symbiosis between Donald Trump and the right-wing rhetoric. His 2016 campaign for the Republican presidential nomination was successful, surprisingly successful, because of his willingness to embrace arguments and assertions that were considered beyond the pale from his or for his traditional opponents, basically saying things that people weren't willing to say, saying the quiet part out loud sometimes. By picking out and then defending, to whatever extent was necessary for his audience, claims about immigrants and terrorism, among other things, he tapped into a strain of argumentation that was kept out of sight. He helped bring the rhetoric into the mainstream. On Sunday, CBS News presented the results of a new poll conducted by the polling firm YouGov. Results that offered a stark example of his pattern of how even extreme right-wing arguments are now barely outside the norm. Notice that right there. That sounds a little biased, but should we be surprised? The fake news agenda at it once again. The Washington Post. Once a newspaper is now garbage. It's garbage. Because somebody's bringing up the fact that you have people entering in this country illegally that don't share in your value system, don't believe in the Declaration of Independence, don't believe in the United States Constitution, are committing heinous crimes, sex trafficking, child trafficking, drug trafficking. They're violent gang members in some respect, some of them coming through. The fact that the Democrats can't understand this and the leftist media says everything you need to know about the leftist media and the Democrats. They can't grasp hard concepts sometimes. Sometimes they can. It's a miracle. Kind of like when Joe Biden doesn't, fight with his teleprompter, can actually get to his Oval Office. That's a miracle too. Or just go up a flight of stairs. We've seen video of just him barely making it. We're chanting for him. You could do it, Joe. You could do it. 2 more steps, buddy. You can get up those stairs and make it safely into Air Force One. That's a miracle within itself as well. Respondents were asked by YouGov whether they agreed with Trump that immigrants entering the United States illegally had the effect of poisoning the blood of the country. Folks, I'm there with you, okay? I'm there with you. As to why Democrats can't understand this analogy, I don't know. I don't know if it's because the education system has fallen apart for the last few decades. Not sure. I can understand what he means by it. I could read between the lines. I know he's not talking about legal immigrants. I know he's not talking about every illegal immigrant. There's definitely some immigrants that are coming here illegally. Some of them, yes. Terrorists, again, drug cartel, guys that want to cut off your head, wear your freaking teeth as a necklace, Use your scalp, the top of your head as a rug, you know, maybe your belly fat as a freaking lampshade. I don't know. Crazy stuff like that that's happened. Those people are poisoning the blood of this country. Yes, they are. Absolutely. I don't know about, or maybe that legal immigrant that killed that 8-year-old with his like third DUI. The dude's been deported multiple times. You know, that's another example of somebody poisoning the blood of the country, but for some reason, they just can't grasp onto it. This is not just right-wing rhetoric, mind you, but a reflection of some of the most extreme radical politics of modern history. You got to be kidding me. You want to know what's extreme radical politics? Allowing 10 million people into your country that you don't even know who they are. All the while, you have China saying, hey, you know, the southern border's open. We're going to send some spies through the southern border. Or you got Iran. You got the Houthis. You have other people, Hamas, saying, hey, you know what? We're going to use that southern border as an outlet to commit terrorist attacks in your country. How about that being extreme political rhetoric? You guys with me on that one? You know what I mean? That's a little extreme in my viewpoint. To have 30 million people in your country, more than half the states in population, which if given amnesty, will change the entire culture of your country, and possibly, depending on the viewpoints of a lot of those people, you could, in a nutshell, have them poisoning the blood, poisoning your culture, having a culture shift that is anti-American, having a culture shift that promotes possibly socialism from which they're trying to flee from, but they will enact those same ideas here in America. I understand what he's saying here. Not all illegal immigrants are like that. Again, you can only be so clear, but as the clearer you are, the more it seems like the more you're considered radical in their viewpoint. If that doesn't make sense, it's because it doesn't. Quite frankly, it's because it doesn't. They don't understand us. And what's mind-blowing, you guys? We understand each other, right? We're in the live chat, right? We got a great community of patriots here that love this country. We all understand what we mean. If I was even say something that wasn't in full-fledged detail, you're able to pick up and read between the lines of what I mean, because this works for you guys. You know what I mean? Your heads are on straight. You think logically. You're common sense folk. You know what I mean? None of us here, I mean, I don't know y'all individually that well, but I would imagine none of us are freaking rocket scientists. You know what I mean? I'm an average Joe here, American. I'm not holier than thou. I'm not any better than all of you guys are. I just got a mic and a camera sitting in front of me and just ranting and raving and getting a lot of stuff off my chest. And we're here as a community that's sharing in our freaking sufferings with Joe Biden in office. But you understand what I mean. But the Democrats, they don't get it. They don't understand us, you guys. The reason why is because they grew up in a milieu, in an environment, meaning the United States of America, that was such a bubble of, and we'll come back to this, such a bubble of leftist ideology, from the education system to media to the books that they read to even their own parents growing up in that same milieu that's now indoctrinating them. Every aspect of their life is in leftist ideology. They don't talk to conservatives. They don't talk to Republicans. We know their viewpoints because we grew up in it. We grew up in the leftist education. We grew up with leftist media. We grew up with leftist narratives. We understand their ideology better than they do. But they don't understand us because they have to reach out. They actually have to make an effort to get to our ideology, right? And that's why, you know, we believe that we're being shadow banned here on YouTube. Guys, I have 50,000 subs almost, and we get about less than 300 per episode of viewership. That's 0.004%, just to let you know. That's 0.004. I should say 4. Maybe it's 0.04%, but it's 0.004. I think if I multiplied that, you know, you're looking at 0.25% or whatever. I might have got the numbers jumbled, but you know what I mean? It's morning, folks. Can we have a cup of coffee together? Let's take a sip here. Jesus. But you understand what I mean. The numbers are low, like suspiciously low. So much low that even YouTube themselves go, yeah, that's kind of not a realistic number of what's going on here. We'll see what we can find from it. By the way, some of you just wrote in the other day in the comment section that you were unsubscribed. So I think it was Thrasher that wrote in too. I hadn't seen that guy in a long time in the comment section. I was like, oh, I guess he moved on. I guess we weren't doing a productive show here. And he said he was unsubscribed. I don't know. But coming back to this bad boy, respondents were asked in YouGov whether they agreed with Trump on the immigrants and poisoning the blood. Again, they're saying this isn't just right-wing rhetoric, right? It's a threat to democracy. It's extreme radical politics in modern history. It is an explicit depiction of immigrants as dangerous, but specifically in the context of poisoning or posing a threat to national identity, it is the language of fascism, which is it's insane. I understand what this Washington Post article is trying to say because I can comprehend what they're trying to do here. It has nothing to do with national identity. In a sense, it kind of does when you're speaking about our values and our creed, which is why when you come through that legal process, you take up an oath. But if you're coming here illegally, are you taking up that oath? Isn't that by definition trying to change the national identity because you have people coming in that you don't know if they want to assimilate to the national identity in the first place that makes this country so great? The country that's an outlier amongst every other country that's ever existed, like by far, by like hundreds of years. Meaning that the further we go on with this democracy and this republic that we hold, that the further we become as an outlier, meaning that the closer we're going to get probability-wise of collapsing and falling apart, because there's never been a democracy or republic that's ever lasted this long in human existence. This experiment that we've been conducting, and we kind of like the experiment that's being conducted. We like the free markets we have here. We like the freedoms and liberties that we hold on to. But a lot of people don't. They want you to not have those liberties and freedoms. And when somebody tries to threaten us by coming here illegally and not holding the same viewpoints that we hold as a nation of Americans, a community, a group of people, yeah, it's a little threatening. When they kill our children, it's a little threatening. When they commit DUIs here and been deported multiple times, they should have a driver's license in the first place. Yeah, it's a little threatening. When they are bringing in fentanyl from China through our southern border, yeah, it's a little threatening because it's killing our children. When you have illegal immigrants pouring into our school system, and our schools, then our children have to go to remote learning and not get the education that they were promised because you have so many illegal immigrants taking up the space because of that, yeah, it's a little threatening. When you have people not upholding our Constitution and want to come here illegally for a better life, is what they're saying, and we don't know who the hell you are, yeah, it's a little threatening because you're taking now the jobs, you're taking also the opportunities from other people that want to immigrate here legally. Yeah, it's a little threatening. You are right. It has nothing to do with extreme values. It just has everything to do with common sense. The same people that write these damn articles are the same people that get upset when they wait in line for an hour for a cup of coffee and somebody cuts the line. They're all going to get a pissy mood for that. But when you would have been waiting in line for years to flee a socialist dictator country, God forbid that you get a little antsy, fancy pantsy, you get your panties in a bunch because somebody cut the line and want to come here illegally, and now we can't fit you into our space here because we have a quota. So God forbid you do all those things. But check this out, folks. This is I'm on a rant today, baby. We're on one. This is All American Brew in the Bald Brad Show mug. Go, folks, if you haven't picked up a mug right now, I mean, you got look at that. But you guys know I've only ever had this mug, and look how good it still is. This thing's been through the washer. This thing gets put through the ringer. I drink out of it every day. Folks, even when I'm not doing the show, I'm drinking out of this, to be honest. It's not even stained. It looks like it is because that is some mud. Can you guys see? Oh, it's in. Okay, there you can see it. There's coffee in there, folks. I'm not playing the game here. So agree with Trump that immigrants entering the U.S. illegally are poisoning the blood of the country. So you got almost 50% of all adults. Look at that, Democrats. Look at the Democrats. Probably like 20% Democrats. Independents are even up there. Even independents are understanding what Trump is saying. Democrats see. Look at it. Just shows you. It just shows you. If this doesn't, with those on audio, forgive me. We do have a podcast on all streams, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, all this stuff. We're everywhere. This isn't working. I'm pointing to the head, and it shows you right here. Independents understand what it means. Republicans understand what it means. There's a swath of this country, and I don't think they're deplorables or anything like that. And I'm being serious. I don't. I just don't understand. Like they can't fathom. Like there's no grasping the concept. You know what I mean? They don't understand that he's not talking about every illegal immigrant. They don't understand that he's not talking about immigrants in general. He's just talking about a certain group of people, MS-13, violent gang members, the cartel, sex traffickers. Some Democrats think all those people just want a better life, you guys. I know I say this every time, but it's so hard to fathom that there's people out there that believe that stuff or are shouting at a black GOP lawmaker, calling him a racist for supporting Trump. I know. Well, it goes on here. You got to agree with Trump that immigrants entering the U.S. illegally are poisoning the blood of the country. The arrow to the right is when Trump isn't mentioned. When Trump is mentioned. So you got that going on. Look at these numbers here. Efforts to promote racial diversity and white equity are going too far in pink. If you're colorblind, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Going to the right and then not going far enough. So look at Democrats are basically leading that. We're not going far enough. And that's why you're seeing the FAA hire basically blind pilots, right? They're looking for people that have mental problems, like serious mental deficiencies. They're trying to put them into positions, whether it be power or not, to lead the brigade in the FAA. The Democrats think diversity isn't going far enough. They have affirmative action in place that actually stops Asian people from getting into universities. Asian people have to score higher in the SATs than their ACTs than, say, other races like Hispanics, whites, and blacks just to get in the university. So they don't treat everybody fairly. They'll shout equity, right? They'll shout equality, but they want equality of outcome, which is why they'll deviate and force things and screw over a certain group of people in this country. And as you see, Republicans and independents, just have their head on straight here. Going too far, absolutely. Indoctrinating your kids, putting in critical race theory in our education system. And then, the leftists, the Democrats are saying that's not happening. It is. Oh, it's happening. Absolutely, it's happening. Some other things that are happening here. The Bidens and the White House just straight up lied to you all. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, this story we covered yesterday regarding the migrant drownings. If you recall, there were some migrants that were being reported to have in the process or were drowning, and they communicated this to Texas officials. And the Biden White House and these Democrats and the woke leftist media, these liars, were saying that Texas didn't want to do anything about it. They basically ignored it and let these people drown. The stories that they were basically portraying was as if these Texas officials were just watching these migrants just drown. Like they were watching it themselves. Screw it, whatever. That's the image that they were portraying, and Democrats have really bought into this. But now the Biden admin admits migrant drownings occurred before Border Patrol alerted Texas officials. Oh, it's funny. Days freaking later, the truth comes out. Most transparent administration that's ever existed, according to them, folks. They're taking all this serious, really so serious that you're going to sit there and lie to the American people about what actually took place for days on end. So now that you have a lot of these Democrats that already can't think straight, some of them are now believing in this propaganda that you're pushing. So no matter what comes out as the actual truth, what really took place, they're already going to believe it, which is why when the media push that Trump is a racist, a xenophobe, all these other things, the Democrats still believe it, which again, that's why they're going after a black GOP lawmaker and calling him a racist, because they think MAGA supporters are extreme. They think we're a threat to democracy and all these other things. So the Biden administration, in a new filing to the Supreme Court, has admitted, they admitted we twisted their arm. That's what took place. We had to twist their arm. Has admitted that 3 migrants who drowned last week died long before Border Patrol agents sought to access the Shelby Park area from Texas officials. Interesting, because that's not what we were told. It's so funny how you have to twist their arm a week later to get the truth out from them. In the same way with the classified documents that were found in the Biden Pence Center, that were found in Joe Biden's garage. They had to look everywhere in each direction to see where documents were laid out because he had them since he was senator decades ago. He had them when he was vice president, wasn't supposed to have them when he was not either. All these things, they lied to us. Not once, not twice, 5 times. The Twitter Files was one of our most watched series here on the Bald Brad Show because Karine Jean-Pierre was standing on that podium lying to those reporters blatantly to their face each and every day. So much so that she walked in multiple days knowing that they had more classified documents than they found and didn't disclose it to anybody. Even when she was asked, are there more documents? She was playing as if she didn't know anything, lying straight to their face. They're doing it again. And if you think this is going to stop, this is only going to ramp up in 2024, folks. Don't believe jack crap that comes from this media, especially if they're leftist outlets, like you saw in that last article. Extreme politics because they're poisoning the blood, because they can't read between the lines. Or if they can read between the lines, they have malicious intent. And what's that intent? To paint you as an evil person, to paint you American patriots as evil. Let that sink in. You just want to do right in this country. You know what I mean? You just want to take care of your family. Go to your job. Be left the hell alone and be able to utilize the liberties and freedoms that God has bestowed upon you and that the government is supposed to protect, and you yourself. I know we can't rely on government. I get it. But you understand what I'm saying. You have people out there that are going to sit there and lie to you and try to manipulate you through this course, this whole year. And you might be going, well, Brad, what do you mean? They've been doing this for even when Trump was in office. No, I understand that. I'm just saying it's going to ramp up to like, if it was like a 9 before, I'm saying it's going to ramp up to like a 12 or 15. You know what I mean? Look what they're already doing. This is a full-fledged manipulation and lie that they told for a week. And now, because it was twisted, now they're forced to basically be, oh, well, yeah, I guess, like, you're right, shoot, we were wrong. You've already seen this. Just last week, DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas pulled the same shit. I'm sorry for the kids in the car. Don't cuss. It's bad. But you understand what I'm saying? DHS Secretary for like months, well, we'll even go as far as to say years regarding the border, was saying that it was closed. Hey, it's fine. It's not open. We got this whole thing secure, which you don't. And then for months, the most recent story was him saying, well, yeah, it's like 50, maybe 60% are letting into the interior of the country. Maybe it's 70. And then like Border Patrol and like other agencies were like, it's not even anywhere near 70%. We're seeing like 90. And so he goes, fine, you got me. It's 80. It's higher than 85%. I'll give you that. So when you twist their arm, all of a sudden you find out a whole different story. It's like 60. The border's secure. No, it's not. When you're allowing in over 85% of illegal immigrants into the country. This is what you get from the Biden administration. As I mentioned, how many people are going to go out and vote for Joe Biden? Millions of people. Tragically, a woman and 2 children drowned last night in the Shelby Park area of Eagle Pass, which was commandeered by the state of Texas earlier this week. So it's all Texas's fault, right? And wait till Karine Jean-Pierre pushes this one, folks. So in a nutshell, they lied. That's what I wanted to get at. They lied to you. And I know you're not shocked. I'm not shocked either, to be honest. Right? If go back to the episode, I said right at the beginning, when you hear somebody say that our officials, especially in Texas, the Lone Star State, baby, are watching people drown and they didn't want to do anything about it, just like on its head, you know what I mean? Just on the surface level of it, it just sounds like BS. You know what I mean? Like, there's a saying we always use in accounting: if it smells like shit, it usually is shit. Right away, it was smelly. You know what I mean? Right away, it just smelled like doo-doo. So, look, none of us really believed it, and it turns out, they were lying to us. Well, speaking of illegal immigration, New York governor proposes budget including $2.4 billion for migrant crisis. Remember when Trump wanted like $2-3 billion? Hell, he's like, I would just take $1 billion to build a wall. And Democrats would rather spend $1 trillion on illegal immigration in 4 years. Yeah, you heard that correctly. $1 trillion with a T in 4 years. Like, they just don't even want to build a border wall because it's racist to them. You know what I mean? Like you saw in that poll, they're poisoning the blood, all these other things. Like, oh, look at what he's doing. Look at what he's saying. If you would just build the border wall and stop the bleeding, right, and actually take the border wall seriously, you'd be fine. But somehow you have these knuckleheads saying that walls don't work. Folks, they just had a wall around they had another wall around the White House with these pro-Palestinians protesting and trying to perform an insurrection on the White House. But you're not going to really hear much about that because it doesn't fit the narrative of the leftist media. It doesn't fit the narrative of the Democrats. See, the Democrats don't perform insurrections, even though they've done way more than Republicans. They've done almost 10, by the way, since you had January 6th. And we'll lowball it. We'll be nice. We'll say 4. We'll say 4. We'll lowball it. So when they perform all this stuff and they commit these types of things, nobody says anything about it. Interesting. But a wall was there, and a wall stopped them from getting in. It's funny how walls work, huh? A lot of other countries utilize it throughout history. It works great, but for some reason, Democrats, again. Yep, for on audio, you can guess I'm pointing at my head. Ain't working. It ain't working. Not all Democrats. Again, we looked at Eric Weinstein. He's a leftist. He has his head on straight. He speaks at least sound logic that I can understand. And a lot of Democrats are like that. I mean, they're just average Americans, right? There's a lot of Democrats that serve in our military, There's a lot of guys that are veterans. Please understand again, I'm not talking about all Democrats. See, we can't be like the left here, folks. When I'm talking about Democrats, you got to understand, I'm talking about a specific group of Democrats. Like Vivek was saying in that first statement, there's a fringe group of Americans out there that vote Democrat that don't hold to the same values and creed system that you do, or that we do, rather. So that's what I'm referring to. People that want to sit there and chisel away your First Amendment rights, those that want to chisel away your Second Amendment rights, that want to allow illegal immigration, they want to allow crime to thrive in their city. Those people are the people that I'm talking about. There's a lot of Democrats out there that, will vote for Joe just because they don't like Trump. I can understand that argument at least. But again, I'm talking about a fringe group of people when I'm speaking about Democrats. So please understand, let's not pull a lefty move here in the same way they go after Trump for immigrants when he's talking about a specific group of people. We can't pull that same maneuver here. Democrat New York Governor Kathy Hochul is proposing to allocate $2.4 billion, big numbers, to address the migrant crisis in New York City, even as she calls for cuts in aid to some schools. I told you, your children get screwed. The Democrats want to take care of everybody first other than Americans, so much so that your kids are not getting the education that you're paying for with your tax dollars. Hochul unveiled a budget proposal that totaled $233 billion to the state legislature in Albany on Tuesday. New York continues to carry the burden of sheltering. Oh, it's a burden now. It's a burden. Wow. New York continues to carry the burden of sheltering more than 69,000 migrants. We must support the mayor of New York in this moment. Wow. So they're burdening you, but you're right. You were bragging for years that you're a right to shelter state. You're a sanctuary city. And now it's a burden? I think it's a little rude. That's a little racist. Don't you guys think that she would call immigrants burdens? Why would you say something like that? Do you see how the manipulation can happen here? I know what she's talking about. I can understand the burden and the infrastructure collapse that you imposed upon yourself with your own ideology and your own voting habits there in the Democrat-ran city. I can understand that. I can process the 2 lanes that are being proposed here. I don't think she's talking about even all immigrants. Some immigrants are not actually pulling money from our tax system. I can understand there's a swath of people out there because it's nuanced, but they're not able to do that. Can you imagine if Trump said something like this? Can you imagine if he said burdening? The media would run with it, but it's okay when Democrats say insane things. It's totally okay with that. The plan includes $1 billion to reimburse the city for expenses related to migrant crisis, $500 million to help pay for services like healthcare and security for migrants, and $400 million to pay for migrant shelters. Did you guys know, and I think I'm getting this figure right, maybe somebody can call me out in the live chat in the comment section, I think New York City, it's either New York or Chicago, is spending $7,000 a month on migrants. If you didn't fall over, spit out your coffee right now, folks, that's like $84,000 a year. $84,000. How many of you make $84,000 a year? That's like, a lot of Americans only make like 50, 60,000. You know what I mean? The services and benefits they're getting is more than Americans are getting. $84,000 a year, these migrants individually are getting. I know you guys. You're going, what the hell? Oh, wait till our last story. Oh boy, we got a jam-packed show, folks. I told you we're ready today. We had to get the dark brew. We had to get the mud, the good stuff. I hope you're sitting down, folks. I hope you're having a good time. If you are, hit that like and subscribe button, folks. We love your support here. You know you're getting the real deal on the Bald Brad Show. We ain't messing around. It's not playtime anymore. It's an election year. This crap is happening, and Democrats love spending that money. They love the trash on their street. They love the human waste going around there. They love the homeless just taking over. They love all that stuff. And you know what? They love it until it impacts them. When it starts impacting them, they're going to come to your state. They're going to come to your city. They're going to come to your neighborhood and vote for the same crap that they've been doing in those other states like California, Chicago, New York. And that's why they're all fleeing the red areas, because they don't like to shit and sleep in the same bed. But they love seeing other people do it. The budget also proposes to cut aid to some schools, according to the budget director, Blake Washington. He said that the government had a hold harmless practice that guaranteed schools that they would not receive less aid from one year to the next, but that was being suspended. We're trying to moderate our spending to match the cash on hand. We want to spend the money wisely. I told you it makes sense in their head. It makes sense in their head. Them spending money on illegal immigrants and not Americans is them spending money wisely. Them allowing smash and grabs and Americans to get reamed by these criminals, that makes sense to them. You getting looted, your store shot up, your family massacred and killed, all that is just money spent wisely. Fixing the homeless crisis that's happening in California, Chicago, all these Democrat-ran cities, spending hundreds of millions of dollars, by the way, of which the problem has only been exacerbated. That's spending your money wisely. Us being $34 trillion in debt is the government officials, both Republican and conservative, as well as these lefty Democrats, that's spending our money wisely. These people are idiots. They're idiots. I don't want to hear jack shit from somebody talking about money that's $34 trillion in debt. It's astonishing that people are going to take advice from other people that are just dramatically in debt. Just dramatically in debt. I know. You guys are going, this is insane. I'm right there with you. And it's only going to get worse if you have another 4 years of Joe. Can you imagine when Joe doesn't have to do re-election and he just has full-fledged control of whatever the hell he wants to do because the media are going to rub his shoulders? Can you imagine just the billions and the trillions that are just going to be spent on random stuff? So there you have it. You got the migrant crisis happening. They can't even handle 69,000. Texas sees that in a day. I'm being a little facetious there and joking, but you understand what I'm saying. They can't handle it. They can't handle it. Well, the federal government to spend $700,000 on trans-inclusive sex ed for 14-year-olds. I told you. Spending money wisely. Spending money wisely, folks. This is where it goes. Jesus, man. It's insane. Some of you just spit out your coffee again. I'm sorry. Get a refill if you need it. Get a refill if you need it, folks. The Department of Health and Human Services is awarding nearly $700,000 taxpayer dollars. I'm sweating. To back pregnancy prevention programs for young girls who identify as boys, warning that heteronormative sexual education is inadequate. It's not enough. You saw it. You saw it in the graph. Where the hell is it? Right here. Efforts to promote diversity, racial diversity, and equity, all that stuff. Look at the orange. It's not enough to Democrats. They're not doing enough. So what do they got to do? They got to spend $700,000 to push this stuff. The $700,000 grant, which began in September of last year, will continue until June 2027. According to the Democrat disclosures, will be allocated to the Center for Innovative Public Health Research, a nonprofit that seeks to create an inclusive teen pregnancy program for transgender boys. Folks, boys can't get pregnant. I know we like to play this game. I'm sorry, you can't get pregnant if you're a boy. It's not going to happen. These same people that are men that identify as women are still going to have to get a prostate exam, whether they want to dress up as a woman or not. Women, from my understanding, don't get prostate exams. I could be wrong. Maybe somebody's going to throw me like a sidewinder where I wasn't expecting. But, you can pretend that you're a girl all you want, but your prostate still needs to get checked. And unless you have your genitals removed, you're still going to have cojones. Youth who are assigned female at birth are at risk for negative sexual health outcomes, yet are effectively excluded from sex health programs because gender-diverse youth do not experience the cisgender heteronormative teen sexual education messaging available to them as salient or applicable. If that doesn't make sense to you, don't worry about it. It doesn't make sense to me either. Now, I need to be clear. Yes, I'm hounding this because I deal with reality, right? I deal with actual common sense things, biology, science, and I understand science can change. But I'm not going to be rude to a person in public. I tend to be a very polite person in public. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if you're part of the LGBTQ community. I said this on the outset of the show, right? I said, look, us Americans, we tend to just leave us alone. If you want to have a pride parade, like whatever. I mean, I don't understand it truthfully. If you want to be gay, be gay. But for some reason, there's this idea, and I don't know if it's because they love the idea of being a victim. They think that we care. As long as you're not imposing your viewpoint upon me, I don't care. I'm not trying to impose Christian viewpoints on you. If you don't like the show, you don't have to watch it. You don't make anybody watch this stuff. But the thing is that they're forcing this upon our kids in the education system, sneaking it into math material like you saw in Florida, putting in the books in the libraries, showing them how to masturbate during a third grade class, right, through cartoons that we showed here on the show. We used to do a lot of this stuff about a year and a half ago. There's just so much news that the Biden administration is destroying this country. It's like, hell, what do I pick? That's why we're bringing it back here. This is just ongoing. And it's insane. Your children are not safe, which is why I promoted my buddy's book. Link is in the description. Check out the book. Books are not safe anymore. You got to find those authors that you could trust. You need those patriots, those conservatives. And that's why you get that my buddy's book, and I'll try to leave a picture here. Definitely links in the description. $9.99. A safe book that teaches actual good stuff. Patience, learning to share, a father figure in the household, a two-parent household. You know what I mean? Values that you can all get behind. He's a Christian, a person of faith. You're going to get something that even if your child was to read it on their own, that they're going to be okay. It's not trying to trans your kids. It's not trying to promote critical race theory. It's not trying to promote some sort of race ideology upon them. No, it's stuff that we can all get behind. That's why I want to promote the man's book, because he's a good father. He's a good man. He's one of my great friends. And he's trying to make a series out of it and do a culture shift here in the United States and the rest of the world. Data suggests that the FAB assigned female at birth, trans-identified youth may be less likely to use condoms when having sex with people who have penises. Oh, just people who have penises. Who are those people called? Who are people that have junk? You know what I mean? Oh, they're boys, they're males. And are at least as likely as cisgendered girls to be pregnant. You know what? We're just going to edit there. I know. But, here, let's actually go to this last little bit, because it actually shows where the money's going. The Center for Innovative Public Health Research aims to provide sex education programs called Girl to Girl, which organization describes as a text messaging-based sexual health program designed for cisgendered sexual minority girls 14 to 18 years old. So they're already targeting people at young ages. The center will then test the resulting adaptation in a national cohort of 700 trans-identified FAB youth 14 to 18. So right here, nursing research has given authority to spend $57 million taxpayer dollars in fiscal year 2024 alone. Just throwing money every freaking which direction, man. It is so insane. It is so wild. Well, at least get some good news here before we move to another wild story. The U.S. launches new round of airstrikes against the Houthis. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Look, a pat on the back to the man for finally waking up and taking a CPAP off and realizing that there's a world going on out there that want to have destructive ideas against the United States and actually commit heinous crimes against our military, our merchant vessels in the Red Sea, that people actually want to commit harm. See, Joe Biden had to allow 127 attacks since October 17th before he did something. Yeah, let that sink in. 127 attacks these people were able to pull off before Joe Biden decided to get out of his bed, right? Have nap time being done. His warm glass of milk was finished so he could take things a little bit more seriously here. And by the way, I would imagine, I don't have any information that this happened. I would imagine the UK said this is bullshit. Can we get the president in the United States to back us on this strike? I have a feeling our allies actually pigeonholed him and twisted his arm. Said, look, we're going to go after this whether you like it or not. Do you want a piece of the pie, baby? So he probably woke up. He probably was forced to do it. The U.S. military launched a new round of airstrikes against the Houthis in Yemen this week as the Iranian-backed terrorist group continues to direct attacks on merchant ships and U.S. forces in the Red Sea. Now, the reason why I think Biden didn't want to do this, and I think it was our allies, because we're still giving humanitarian aid to the Iranians. We're still giving aid to the Iranians, all the while they're funding terrorist groups that are going after our allies, our merchant vessels, our military installations, our ships, like U.S. ships. It's so wild. It's so corrupt. It is so corrupt. But, you got some Navy SEALs operating that fell. I don't know if they actually found them or not yet. I don't think they did. So I think sadly, I think those SEALs maybe are gone. Terrible stuff going on. A lot of disaster happening around the world. You didn't see this under Trump. You saw things like ISIS already taking place, but that was already established under the Obama administration. Trump was just wiping them out. So Trump was just kind of picking up the scraps and breadcrumbs of whatever the Bidens created. The Obamas. I mean, Biden was part of it too. But he's going to have to do the same thing in 4 years here. So we're going to have a lot of stuff to clean up here under Trump, folks. Trump's going to be a busy freaking man in his last term because he's a lot of power to freaking throw around because you got a lot of these idiots running around thinking they get away with this shit because you got Democrats in office. When you get a Republican in office, not anymore. Well, I want to see if this article actually works here. I hope it does because what we're about to talk about is so freaking head spinning. It is wild. And it looks like the article is not working. But basically, they are spending $478,000 per unit in California on homeless. In California. So let's see if we can pull it up here. Tiny apartments. Let's see if we can get the globe. Let's see if it actually freaking works. Here we go, folks. We got it for you. I think it did not refresh because it was taking so long. But you have this massive homeless problem. This is wild. Let's see if we can zoom in on it. $478,000 per unit. Homeless tiny apartments now open in Sacramento. You guys, if anybody knows real estate or just kind of square footage of price, many of you probably have your own home and stuff like that, or even an apartment. The cost to build is $1,700 per square foot. You just spit out your coffee again, I bet. Refill, folks, refill. Yeah, you heard that correctly. $1,700 per square foot to build these tiny apartments. Almost $500,000 per unit. In some of the country, you could get a house for $250,000. Why? Because it's all corrupt. It's all corrupt. The Sacramento mayor proudly announced Sacramento Historic Capitol Park Hotel reopens this week at St. Clara's Capitol Park, a permanent supportive housing complex for people experiencing homelessness. I thought we were supposed to call them unhoused. I thought we weren't allowed to call them homeless or vagrants or anything like that anymore. Calling the state's homeless vagrant. Oh, there we go. Wow. Calling the state's homeless vagrant population unhoused. There you go. Oh, you got to be inclusive. You have to be inclusive. Has justified spending billions of tax. Yes, you heard that correctly. Our state is $68 billion in deficit, but they're spending billions of taxpayer dollars on housing for homeless in lovely new apartments, renovated hotels, and tiny homes. This is supposed to fix it. So you just give people free stuff at the end of the day. It's just socialism. It's socialism. Have you ever heard that phrase that socialists want everything from you other than your job? You ever heard that phrase? If you don't have a job, how are you going to pay for all this stuff? How are they going to take everything from you if you're not working? That's how it works. The city just closed a triage shelter for the vagrants living on the streets. The mayor is pinning his hopes on the Capitol Park Hotel, which was used for decades as housing for low-income disabled adults. The city is kicking them out. It just gets better. It just gets better. Oh, shit. As you guys know, you really do see that I haven't read these beforehand. I just pull up the articles or I know some sort of information about it, like $478,000 per unit for these homeless people, you get a real-time reaction from me. I can't believe it just said that. It was used for low-income disabled adults, and the city's kicking them out. Shit. It's the same thing. It's the same thing how Democrats kicked out our veterans that fought in Afghanistan and Iraq for immigrants that were from Afghanistan and Iraq. The city is kicking them out and renovating the hotel for $23 million. The mayor says it will have 180 beds for homeless by August. As one neighbor said in response to Steinberg's press conference, these are the drug addicts and mentally ill who refuse the city's services. To call them homeless is an insult to those that are truly down on their luck. They are vagrants, criminals, druggies, and junkies who have chosen this lifestyle. Some of them have, absolutely. I 100% agree with that. Not everybody, but again, Democrats can't separate the two, folks. You got to feed it to them. You know what I mean? Like you know how Joe Biden gets spoon fed, cereal or ice cream. Like somebody has to feed the guy. He can't feed himself. Put the bib on him, strap him up all nice. Just get his warm little milky out for everything. Rub his feet. That's what's going on here. You have to spoon feed Democrats. Some of them, really just lay it out for them so they can understand it. Truer words cannot be spoken. In 2019, the mayor complained. Some neighborhoods are complaining about the homeless, and then they don't put the shelters in our neighborhood. Yeah, you heard. Yeah, they want to convert some of these neighborhoods into shelters. So Democrats are getting pissed because now the homeless population of which they wanted to allow is now actually impacting them. So they got all riled up. They got all upset. He singled out a neighborhood of Land Park, which is adjacent to downtown Sacramento, just to the south. This is my neighborhood. This is where the meat of it is. This is where I really wanted to get to it right here. Look at this bad boy. The housing complex for people experiencing homelessness. They're just experiencing it. They're not going to stay homeless. Ballooned up per unit cost by 2020 to $445,000 each, almost $500,000. Mercy Housing began the project with a $34 million price to convert the downtown Sacramento building, 180 hotel rooms, into 134 studio units of about 280 square feet. Folks, if you spit out your coffee again, I understand. 280 square feet is a unit. It's costing them almost $500,000 to build a 280 square foot unit. $1,700 per square footage. The project grew to $34 million, doubled in price that we know of at this point. You don't think corruption's happening here? You don't think people are pulling one on the taxpayer? That's $478,000 per 280 square foot room. $1,700 per square foot. The average square foot cost of real estate right now in Sacramento is $300 to $400. Yeah. Oh, if you're like, whoa, we're getting screwed. Oh, yeah, you, the taxpayer that is funding this, you pay $300 to $400. An homeless person that's probably mentally ill, committed crimes, doing drugs, probably selling drugs to your local school district, is getting a unit that is $500,000 basically, or $1,700 per square foot. They're living better than you are. In the same way, these illegal immigrants in Chicago and New York City are getting $700,000 a month in benefits, $84,000 a year. How many of you are making $84,000 a year? If you are, why are you not subscribed to the channel as a member? Over here, you're making 84K buckaroos. We need your support, folks. We need your support. This is why we get messaging out. This is bullcrap. This is insane. But, when it's other people's money and Democrats have control of it, that's how we wind up with things like this. It makes sense, you know what I mean? It really does actually make sense because we're a nation that's $34 trillion in debt. We don't know how to spend money wisely. Democrats will say they do. You saw it in the article yourself. You saw that knucklehead mayor, or should I say, was it Hochul, whatever the hell her idiotic name was, Hochul saying, oh, we're going to spend money wisely. It's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Well, folks, banger of an episode today. Again, check out my buddy's book. I forget the name of it. We might as well see if we can pull it up here, folks. Let's get it going for y'all. If you haven't already, leave us a comment down below. Hit that like and subscribe, folks. We would love your support on it. I want to make sure I get my buddy's book out there for the longtime listeners because you guys support the show the most. Those that are still making it here with us. It's right here. It's The Adventures of Waffle Daddy and Short Stack. Waffle Daddy meets Short Stack. Link is in the description below, folks. $9.99. Again, you can get it on Kindle. The hope is to make it a series, book one of one. And then ultimately, build up that money to reinvest and actually get hardcover stuff produced. But that's the long-term goal. Again, please support the man. He is a father of two, great guy, patriot, and again, a friend of mine. I would not lead you astray. This is a person that shares the same values as you and I. He's basically me, except I'm just a better version. So he watches the show. I hope you appreciate that, Kyle. But with that being said, folks, lovely episode today. I hope you enjoyed it. You guys are freaking awesome. I love our community. Awesome community. I got nothing for you. Make sure you check out our shop, baldbrad.com. We got a store. We got merch down below. Some of you are wearing our swagger, drinking out of our mugs. And with that being said, folks, I salute you. Have a blessed day, and I'll see you tomorrow here on the Bald Brad Show.